Well, we haven't done anything like this in,
Years.
in years. I mean, we've done live streams, but we've never actually had somebody on our channel that we're going to ask questions and they're going to tell their story. And this is an amazing story, especially for those that are doing the carnivore diet. So
And I've never talked to anybody who is a carnivore before, other
that's
than
true.
just Erica and Wes, who just did it with us, but nobody else. We've never talked to a carnivore. So yay.
So welcome, Kerry from Healing Humanity. He's making a movie about healing humanity. And there's other things. He has their YouTube channel is Homestead How. Very informative and also very fun. I'm still curious about the movie theater thing. But Kerry, we're pleased to have you on here. We're looking forward to hearing your story. I want to hear about the people that you've met and how carnivore has changed their lives and some of the miraculous things you've seen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. Like I was just telling you earlier, I'm a big fan of your guys' channel. I've learned a lot from watching you as well. Still haven't done the chuck roll yet, but I'm gonna be doing that soon. But really love what you guys are doing, and appreciate the opportunity to share my story here.
Well, can we start with like, how did you get into the carnivore? Like, what happened in your life to where you decided, hey, I got to try this diet?
Yeah, for me it was I was sick of being sick. I just had so many health issues. It started with gaining a whole bunch of weight. At my heaviest, I was 100 pounds heavier than I am today.
Wow.
It started in my early adult years. I just started gaining more and more weight. Then I got diagnosed with IBS. My stomach was just always hurting me. It's always, every time I would eat, I'd have pain. It was always kind of gurgling and bubbling and bothering me. Later, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. I would stop breathing multiple times throughout the night, so they gave me a CPAP machine. I had 2 kidney stones, which was some of the worst pain of my entire life. Wouldn't recommend those.
How old were you during like this peak here of?
This was all within the last 15 years or so.
Okay.
And it just snowballed, like one health issue, and then they gave me some medication, and then another one and another one. After the kidney stones, I had another pain, and I'm like, oh no, I'm having another kidney stone, which is the worst pain ever. I ended up going to the hospital. It was just excruciating pain, and it turned out it was my appendix. And I sat in the ER in the waiting room for like 6 hours. They finally got me in, and my appendix burst on the operating room table before they started doing the surgery. A couple of years after that, I had more stomach issues, and they checked my gallbladder, and they're like, your gallbladder's borderline. Like, you could keep it in or we could remove it. And I'm like, take that thing out. My stomach hurts so bad. Years and years of just stomach issues. I'm like, maybe this will fix it. So they removed my gallbladder. And of course, that didn't fix it. Still had the issues after that. My biggest issue, though, for the last 15 years before finding carnivore, was depression and anxiety. I just had horrible, crippling depression that got worse and worse. My wife convinced me to go in and get help for it, and they put me on medication, and they said, this is going to take 3 months before you'll know if it works or not. I waited the 3 months, which was agonizing because I was in really deep, dark depression, and it didn't work. And then they upped the dosage, and they upped it again 3 months later and 3 months later. And then they switched the medication. And for like 10 years, I was on every SSRI antidepressant. I ended up with insomnia. So I just had all of these things coming together. And then about 2 years ago, I got gout, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal compared to all the other issues I had, but it was horrible. I was in crutches at one point. I could barely put any pressure down on my foot. It felt like a fractured bone in my foot. Went into the foot doctor, gave me medication, gave me injections, went into another foot doctor, went into another one over the course of about 18 months. And they finally said, you're going to have to do surgery. We're going to have to like cut the toe and put this like ball bearing joint in thing. And it was around that time that I found carnivore from a YouTube video I was watching. And I'm sorry, there's one other thing. So about 8 years ago, I was sitting at home depressed, and I went to get up from the couch, and I just got really confused. I was dizzy. I almost fell over, and my fingers were tingling, and the side of my face went numb. And my wife was like, what is going on? And I couldn't find the words to explain to her what was happening. So she called 911, and I had a TIA mini stroke, and I was in my 30s, late 30s. I spent 5 days in the stroke unit at the hospital, and they're like, what is wrong with this guy? He's got all of these health issues. My medical records are like this thick. Why is this guy having a mini stroke in his late 30s? And they tested my heart and they diagnosed me with congestive heart failure. My ejection fraction was 44. So yeah, for those that are watching, congestive heart failure means your heart can't keep up with the needs of your body. It's like not pumping enough blood to keep up with the needs of your body. So it made sense. I was always tired and fatigued, and whenever I'd stand up, I'd get dizzy. So I had so many health issues and was just suffering for so long. And they just kept giving me more pills. And then I would have more side effects from those pills. And then I would need even more pills. And at the end, I had a bin of like 15 pills I was taking. I'm 44 now. I was 42, 43 when I started Carnivore. And yeah, so I tend to ramble. I saw a YouTube video. It was a man named Dante Ferrigno from Ferrigno Freedom. And he was saying, I'm going to eat meat for 90 days. And I'm like, this guy's crazy. You can't do that. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to clog your arteries. You can't possibly do that. But he did it. the video that I was watching was 2 years old and on YouTube. And so my wife was with me and we're like, let's fast forward. There's no way 2 years later, present day, this guy is still eating meat. Like, and then we did that and you couldn't recognize Dante. He'd lost all of his weight. He overcame IBS, which I had. He overcame mental health issues, which I had. And it really inspired me because I'm like, this guy was me. Like he had everything that I had and he overcame it all. That's what got me excited about Carnivore. I still said Dante's crazy. He's an outlier. Like everything in my brain, I'm trying to like talk myself out of doing this thing. And then I found Dr. Ken Berry, watched about 1,000 of his videos. And the video I saw from Dr. Berry was how to reverse type 2 diabetes. And it had 2 million views. And I thought Dr. Berry was a scam artist. I'm like, what is this guy selling? This doctor, you can't eat only meat. He's talking about eating bacon as a doctor. This is crazy. But on that video, it had 2,000 comments. And the first comment was, Dr. Berry, you saved my life.
Wow.
And it gives me goosebumps now reading that. I'm like, this doctor saved someone's life like on the other side of the country. He never examined them or saw them in person. And then I read more comments and there were a bunch of comments saying, you saved my life. My A1C was this. Now it's this. I'm no longer diabetic. One of them said, 10 minutes watching your videos, Dr. Berry, did more for me than 10 years with my family medicine doctor. Wow. And that was when I decided to start Carnivore after all of that. So Dr. Berry was kind of my big turning point.
Well, that's the crazy thing too about like you're skeptical. All of us are skeptical. Anything on YouTube, you're just thinking, what are they trying to make money or what are they selling? What are you going to do? And every diet has, bars and pills and all kinds of things to take, but there's nothing with Carnivore. There's nothing to sell you on. Except eat clean meat, It's just so bizarre and neat that there's doctors that are saying to do this that aren't trying to sell us their program or their whatever, and that is what really, I don't know, changed my mind about certain doctors on there that we see. It's just like, well, he doesn't have anything to gain from this. So must be true, and maybe not must be true, but maybe it'll work. And like our same situation, Steve was just so desperate. Well, that's how we found it. We were so desperate to find something that worked. And we'd already gone 2 years on autoimmune protocol, AIP, for Steve's autoimmune disorders. And it was so miraculous what that did for us that we were firm believers that it's not meds that you need. It's your diet. There's something here. And that's how we got into it too. I think Joe Rogan or something.
Yeah. Well, we heard about it and I'm kind of blown away right now. I don't really want to talk about myself. Like everything you said, I'm getting emotional about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
No. Well, just because.
Not because of me. I'm like it's changed my life, but I'm like, how does this guy survive all that?
Yeah. And like yours seems like nothing compared to what you've gone through.
And a lot of people are in his position and I feel
bad for them.
Oh man.
Bad for them that it's so easy maybe to pull out. Maybe because maybe it's not perfect for everybody, but it can change people just with the way we're eating. And it's so sickening that it's all the pill pushers and all the surgeries and all the things that we do and
suffering and so unnecessarily.
Simple.
Yeah. People suffering for so long and the depression and stuff like that. It just feeds on itself too. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to go through all that.
Oh, Steven, I really appreciate your emotion there. It's beautiful. I'm with you. Like the passion, you get this healing, right? You just want other people to have it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so passionate about it too. Because I'm like, how many other people are out there that are hopeless, like I was, or like you were? There's so many people out there right now that are hopeless, and it's getting worse and worse. And it's like you said, Steph, it's so easy. It's like it's just the food we're eating. For me, it was like I would have given anything when I was in the deepest, darkest depression. When I think now too, I'm like, I'm a grown man now. I can just suck it up. But what I put my children through and my wife through. My wife and I have triplets +1, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So my girls, like, there wasn't a dad for them for a very long time. I was just a emotionless zombie on the couch, just medicated. And I would have given anything, just even if this is as crazy as carnivore sounds, I was grasping for anything. Like, here's another tool in the toolbox. Try this. It's natural. I love what you said too, Steph, about the doctors, right?
Yeah.
That was what convinced me. I'm like, this guy's not selling anything. When I was watching Dr. Berry videos, I'm like, okay, where's the diet program? Where's the supplement? I got to pay $1,000. There's something. There's nothing. I'm like, I literally just watched it. That was really eye-opening for me, because all of the pills and medication I was on, there was always some sort of perverse incentive or some bias or something. They're trying to get you on pills. They're trying to sell you something. There's something. And with these doctors, I'm like, there's nothing. Now, not that I should just jump on and do carnivore because of that, but it definitely warrants further investigation.
Yeah. That's the thing, is it's worth a try for anybody having any ailment. Give it 90 days and just see, what if
just eat.
I mean, I didn't have anything wrong with me, and I did it along with Steve just because it's easier. Our life is easier for both doing it. And I've changed completely. Like, it's just, I felt great, but I feel a whole new great now. It's just really weird. It feels like this is the right way. I don't know, at least for us.
100%. That was the eye-opening thing for me. I started realizing all of these crazy health issues I had healed. But more than that, it's like I was living in this brain fog before. I was just going along to get along. I was doing the bare minimum. And when I started doing carnivore, it got over all the health issues. It was more so than that. It's like, not only am I no longer depressed, I would have given anything to just be at a baseline. It's the opposite spectrum. Like, I'm full of joy and gratitude. And I hear the word gratitude over and over again from so many carnivores I've interviewed. I think I've interviewed 32 now for a documentary, and probably like 100 total on my YouTube channel, probably even more than that by now. But they all have that thing. They're just like full of gratitude, and they're living life to the fullest. And it's like, what is their incentive? They want other people to feel this. They're trying to get the word out. It's like you get a second chance at life, and it's hard not to shout it from the rooftops and share it with everyone.
I know, and you feel weird doing it. Like, it feels, I mean, maybe it doesn't to you, but it does to me. Like, I feel like maybe it's not great for everyone, or maybe, I don't know. I feel kind of guilty saying it, but I do believe it. And I'm not, there's nothing I'm faking. I truly do. I just feel like
you feel like you become
it's too good to be true.
You become those people that, like, I've never liked people to tell me, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this.
Yeah.
Right.
And now people that we care about and we love, and friends, or even random people that we're just talking with, and they start to tell you stuff that's wrong with them, I'm just like, oh, go on, like,
I know.
Like, and it's a weird, I know that there's people that have been watching our YouTube channel for a long time, and they've seen us go from the journeys we've been on, just fun, having fun. And then some of them were turned off by the whole, why are you guys pushing carnivore? We're not pushing anything. We're just sharing what's going on in our life, which is what we do. But I hope some of you, watch this, and we're going to tell you exactly what happens with us, the good and the bad. And it's changed a lot of people. There's people that have followed us. Some started with us.
Yes.
And stuck to it. So that was really rewarding. I don't want to get carried away with us talking about ourselves, because I want to hear more about this movie, some of the people you've met, like your story already. I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is unreal. So Can you share, don't let us just start rambling. Can you share some more inspirational stories out there, like the ones that impacted you the most? and I'm assuming some of these are going to be on that movie as well, Healing Humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And by the way, I love hearing your story. So feel free. You guys got to come on my channel and share it sometime. Open
Good.
invite, but it's really, really inspiring. Yeah, inspiring stories. That's what started me. So after I started carnivore with learning from Dante, so I'm down 100 pounds since my heaviest, overcame the depression, anxiety, the gout that they wanted to do surgery on. That was the thing that took the longest. That was about 70 days. That went away. IBS went away. I stopped snoring, got off my CPAP machine. Like all of the stuff I'm saying too is it's hard to believe. It's all in my medical records. I've shared it on my YouTube channel for those that are skeptical, because there's skeptics out there. I would be too. The craziest thing for me was 1 year on carnivore. I'm like, I feel like I could run a marathon now. I could barely stand up before. I started exercise. I've never exercised my whole life. I've never.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got this excess energy. I got to exercise. I started exercising. At 1 year, I went into the doctor, cardiologist, and I said, I want to check my heart again. When they diagnosed me with that congestive heart failure, they said, this is chronic. Your ejection fraction is 44. They gave me a bunch of medication. It's going to stay the same if you eat better, which they never told me what that was, or it's going to get worse. It's never going to get better. So I'm always going to be at this deficit where I stand up and I'm getting dizzy. Well, 1 year in, I went in and got it tested, and my congestive heart failure was 44. It was perfectly normal. It was 60. You don't get 100 on congestive heart failure. I was like, it's only 60. I was disappointed. 60 is like it's 60 or 65, whatever it was. My number was completely normal.
Wow.
And the other thing, real quick, I also had an irregular heartbeat since birth. Like I've worn 25 heart monitors throughout my life, kindergarten, middle school, high school, over and over again. Highly erratic heartbeat. Completely normal on carnivore for the first time in 43 years. That's all in my medical records. I've shared it all too, because that just blows my mind. It's really uncharted territory, right? Because people diagnosed with congestive heart failure and heart issues don't normally just go eat meat, because we're told otherwise. So
especially with gout. No one's telling a gout person to have meat, red meat. Eat more red meat, you'll be fine.
Right. Yeah. That was the number one thing. Don't do is you got gout, don't eat meat. And oh my goodness, Dr. Barry has an incredible video on gout.
Yeah.
It's just inflammation. There's so many carnivores I've talked to that have gotten over gout by eating carnivore, and they're all scared to do it for that reason. But
it's the same thing with like his autoimmune. One of them is ankylosing spondylitis, and it's arthritis basically. And that's inflammation in his joints. And it's the same thing. It's just decreasing your inflammation so your body can figure out what to do.
100%. If it ends in itis, this was one of the big things I learned on carnivore. If it ends in itis, colitis, appendicitis, arthritis, it's just inflammation. And everyone that hears Steve and Steph and Kerry are doing carnivore, they're like, what about your cholesterol? Meanwhile, they're fully inflamed. They have this systemic inflammation. It's a million times worse for you. If you have that inflammation, it leads to all sorts of diseases, all sorts of issues, and everyone's just oblivious to it. I hope I get that message out with the documentary, but sorry, I'm rambling now. To answer your question, inspiring stories. Oh my goodness. One of the ones for me was, you mentioned Joe Rogan. Jordan Peterson was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
His testimony, he said on the first week of carnivore, I stopped snoring. Yeah. And when I heard that got me excited, because I had the CPAP machine, and my experience was almost immediately on carnivore, I stopped snoring.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you think it was the weight loss, losing 100 pounds, but it started immediately just from...
It made me so mad. What your point right there? Because my sleep doctor was like, listen, dude, I'm just going to give it to you straight. You got to lose 80 pounds, 100 pounds. You're way overweight. And my neck was huge. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just fat. So I'm snoring because I'm fat. But I was hopeless, because I'm like, I've tried losing weight so many times, yo-yoed from, I'm never going to lose 100 pounds. So I'm just going to snore forever. It was just inflammation. And for Jordan Peterson, it was inflammation. I stopped snoring before I lost a pound. And so many people I've since interviewed, sleep doctor, and he's like, if you think of your airway, just having a little bit of inflammation, just reducing that airway even by a millimeter can cause you to snore. It's your tongue, your airway gets inflamed. And so, of course, losing the weight will help, but a big part of it's inflammation.
That was what I was going to say. Is another thing we noticed was just, like we tape our lips, we lip tape when we sleep at night, but breathing through your nose, my amount of inflammation in my nose, once we started carnivore, maybe mold, or I don't know, just, I don't really have allergies, but maybe I did, but just reducing that inflammation, you breathe through your nose more. And I think that that is healing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that's probably part of it too. You're getting more air.
100%. Yeah. I was just going to say when I think back now, the foods I was eating was literally causing me to stop breathing hundreds of times. I stopped hundreds of times throughout the night. I think it was like 600 times when I went in for my sleep study. A lot of people do that. It's several hundred times they'll stop breathing. That's why you need the CPAP machine. So the foods I was eating was causing me to basically like choke and almost die at night so that I could eat sugar and carbs and junk food. And like you're saying with the airway too, like, yeah, all those things. It's just, that was my big realization on carnivore. What just our escape from what's natural as humans is causing all these sicknesses and weird interventions, like strapping a mask to my face, or now these people with type 2 diabetes that are getting limbs amputated from the foods they're eating. Like, this should be craziness. And it's just kind of normal. I know someone I interviewed on my channel that's blind. He's legally blind from the 100% from diabetes from the foods he's eating. It's like, some of this is crazy, but in terms of the inspiring stories, Jordan Peterson really fired me up. I decided on day 67, I'm like, there should be a documentary about this carnivore. There's a lot of documentaries out there on the ketogenic diet. I've watched them. They get into the science, but what really inspired me was stories. Like, you guys have an incredibly inspiring story for autoimmune disorders. For Steve, for example, I had the depression, anxiety. There's so many different stories out there. And I think that's what will inspire people to change. It's all right. It's either desperation, which was me, or inspiration in some cases. And sometimes you'll inspire people and it's just planting a seed, and maybe it'll take them a couple months before they decide to pick up on it. But that was what I wanted to do with the documentary. So on day 67, I announced on my YouTube channel, I'm like, we're going to do a documentary about carnivore diet, really foolishly, sort of. I'm like, maybe we could follow people for 1 year that are doing carnivore for all these various health reasons. Because by that time, I had so many comments on my YouTube channel, like, I cured depression, I cured fatty liver disease, I'm no longer diabetic, like, just so many things. People in their 70s and 80s telling me, I've been doing carnivore for years now. I don't have any mobility issues. I'm running laps around all of my peers, and it just got me really fired up. So we decided to do that. The biggest inspiring story I want to share with you real quick is right when we announced the documentary, I got a comment on one of my YouTube videos. I've been a homesteader for 9 years now. Wow. We do videos on YouTube about our homestead, like chickens and goats. We're building a greenhouse. And so when I started carnivore, which by the way was 599 days ago, tomorrow's 600 days for me on carnivore. When I started on day 30, I'm like, I'm going to do one video on carnivore because this is crazy. Like, what's happening to me just in 30 days. And since that time, I've probably done like 500 more carnivore videos, and I don't really do any homesteading videos. It's all carnivore because it's been so life-changing. But one of the videos, this guy, Bill, from Alaska, he's 700 pounds, stuck in his house for 5 years, horribly depressed. He was too big to leave his house. He commented on one of my carnivore YouTube videos, and he said, I'm going to die if I don't do something. Been stuck in my house for 5 years. I'm 700 pounds. And he was the first person we filmed for our documentary. My daughter, Emma, one of the triplets, she was vegan for 5 years, and she went full carnivore with me. She's been carnivore over a year now.
Wow.
Absolutely thriving. And so her and I flew to Alaska very foolishly, pretty bad parenting on my part. Like, this stranger that I read a comment from, I talked to him on the phone, and that was it. I'm like, we're going out to the backwoods of Alaska, going to this guy's house to film him. But it was Providence because this guy's incredible. We filmed him over a year ago, and just about 2 months ago, we went back 1 year later. The documentary is taking a little while because we're trying to follow a couple people for 1 year. But long story short, 1 year later, Bill, his name's Bill Knott. He's got his own YouTube channel now. He's becoming quite famous himself. He's down 270 pounds in 1 year. He overcame horrible, as he described it, black hole depression that almost took his life. That happened within like 3 weeks, by the way. Wow. It wasn't completely gone, but within 3 weeks, he called me up and he's like, Kerry, this is crazy. I'm like, what's going on, Bill? And he said, my lower back pain and knee pain that I've had for 25 years is gone. And he's like, how can that happen in 3 weeks? I've hardly lost any weight yet. And I'm like, inflammation. Yeah. And he said his mood was just through the roof, like completely turned over. And so we went and filmed him 1 year later for our documentary, Healing Humanity, outside. Last year when we went there, he couldn't leave the house. He hadn't left his house in 5 years. This time he was out in the beauty of Alaska, hands in the air, thanking God, just tears coming down. We went to this place called Hatcher's Pass. It's one of the most beautiful places, I think, on the planet, just these green mountains and streams everywhere. And he sat out there and sort of gave us his testimony 1 year later on Carnivore. So, yeah, that was one of the inspiring stories. There's so many stories where we filmed a woman named Mimi. She had full-blown Parkinson's, a stroke, blood infection that nearly killed her. We filmed her, and we're filming her a year later. She could barely walk 10 steps. She was bedridden, Parkinson's. We've looked at all of her medical records to verify all of this too, by the way. She's a beast. She just turned 70 and she's weightlifting and she's running and she's training to do this 500-mile hike. It's the St. Francis of Assisi Trail. And we're hoping to go film her at the end of this 500-mile hike. So we have her before and after. There's a woman, Maggie, Rancher Maggie. You guys or your audience might have seen her. We filmed her for a week. She is 83 years old and she's been eating carnivore for 65 years. And we did a little teaser trailer and she's in the trailer just flexing. Like she could pick me up. Yeah.
My mind is blown at how she looks.
She's got full blonde hair at 83 years old. And when people watch the documentary, I'm so excited for that part because people see her visually and they're like, this is crazy. She's 83. It's unbelievable. When you hear her and listen to her, she has the energy of like a teenager. It's just crazy. And she's never been sick. The 32 people we filmed so far for the documentary, 34 people, every one of them had some sickness, depression, anxiety, something. Maggie, nothing. Like 83 years old. She's like, I've never had anything wrong with me. She doesn't use any makeup. She doesn't dye her hair. Just completely natural for 83 years.
That's what is so scary to everybody that thinks about, oh, maybe I could do it or whatever. It's the fear of, well, nobody's done it long term to know how this is going to turn out. 83-year-old's done it for 60 something years and she looks like she's in her 40s. You know, she looks amazing. And that right there is just mind blowing. So it is something that is sustainable, something you can do long term. You know, everybody's got a different.
There's Inuits, there's, tribes in Africa that they've had a history of lower cancers and all these other problems. They have issues with water. That's something that's can be their demise. But the ones that are eating meat, they're better off. I mean, I can't say, obviously, if you're in a place where your water is a big issue, that's a big issue. But the Inuits, what are they eating?
Yep.
Kerry, are you lion or are you regular carnivore or what are you?
I am I'm 100%, I was gonna say mostly carnivore. I'm 100% carnivore and I've done lion a couple stretches. I did like 90 days and then I went back to more carnivore, beef, butter, bacon, eggs. When I go off a lion, it's usually just for bacon, and I blame my family and my daughters because they're cooking up some. Every now and then, I'll be like, okay, I got to try some of that. I feel way better on lion, which is just for me. It's just beef, salt, and water, ruminant animals. But yeah, I fluctuate a little bit. But people always kind of make fun of me on YouTube because you're like, oh, Mr. Perfect, you haven't cheated. I haven't. Just for people watching that think this is crazy, I get it. It's going to be 600 days tomorrow. I haven't had a single thing off plan. I haven't had a single piece of fruit. I haven't had a vegetable. I don't even supplement. I did some electrolytes when I first started, like transitioning over. But it's just beef, salt, and water for 600 days. One of the things Dr. Chafee taught me when we interviewed him, he's like, meat, fatty ribeye in particular, is the most nutritionally dense food on the world. And it's like a power food in some ways in that it gives you all the proper proportions of fat, minerals, nutrients, everything you need you can get from a fatty steak, and you can thrive forever with no supplementation. You can't say the same for a plant-based diet. You have to supplement or you will die. And I'm living proof of that. So are many other carnivores, of course, but I haven't had any supplementation. It's just been beef for 600 days.
So you don't do dairy. The dairy is probably a big one with the IBS and stuff, I'm sure, probably.
Yeah, I've never done dairy. That was one of the things. I tried keto on and off for years, and I would have cheese, and it always stalled me out. And that was one of the big things I've learned doing this. I've had it's been such a blessing. But my YouTube videos on carnivore have really, a lot of them have gone kind of crazy. So it's turned me on to a big audience. Like I've had, I think it's 100,000 carnivore comments now. We're putting together a database so that we can use it for the documentary. And then one of the biggest prevalent ones is I'm stalled out on carnivore. Oftentimes it's dairy, usually cheese, that's stalling people. Maybe that'll help some people that are watching if they struggle at all.
It's true. I see it all the time. And I'm involved I watch all the women's Facebook groups for carnivore. Men's ones are too crazy, but the women's ones they're nicer, calmer. It's
right.
Normal. So if anybody's going to join the women ones. But it's the same thing. Dairy seems to be an issue for a lot of them. And everybody says to eat a stick of butter a day and all that stuff. And I know there's all the different views on that, but it seems very individual for people. Like not everybody's the same. We can't all follow the exact same thing. Some people are sensitive to dairy, some aren't, you know. So it's definitely, if you're stalled or whatever, try cutting dairy and see what happens.
100%. Yeah. I always say that too. Like, I think it's easier for men than women, age, past history. There's so many factors that go into it that make it different. But yeah, the stall, getting rid of cheese, I think is a big one. Or I always tell people too, if you've done that, just do some sort of drastic change, because our bodies get into these routines. Like especially us carnivores. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I could eat the same meal every single day for I've eaten the same thing every day over and over again. So I always tell people, like, if you stall too, try switching it up a little bit. Like maybe fast for a little bit, or don't eat your regular meal when you do. Or if you're doing carnivore, do lion for 3 days. You don't have to commit to it for life, kind of thing.
And that's if you're doing it for weight loss. But like Steve's situation, he won't. He's so scared of flaring his uveitis, which is another itis, and then his ankylosing spondylitis. He feels so good.
Yeah,
that he only eats chuck and eggs. That's pretty much it.
Here's the thing: it's not like Steve is gritting his teeth and just, I'm so disciplined.
No,
we talk about this all the time. Every time I eat like a pound of steak in the morning, and then a pound of steak in the evening, and I eat eggs with that. And then lately I've been eating a snack midday because I want to gain a little weight. But every time I eat a steak, I'm like, this is so good. And we're eating chuck. We're eating a chuck steak. And I have never had any aversion. When we first started, we were eating, there was still chicken and stuff like that was into it. And literally it was one day I was like, I can't eat chicken anymore. My body just said, you are not eating chicken anymore.
Yes.
It's so weird, but I could eat, and I'll have fish sometimes,
I'll force her.
Yeah. So I'll eat some salmon or something, but I literally have no problem eating that steak every single day, twice a day. And it tastes great. I look at it and my mouth starts watering, and Steph this morning goes, "Wow, look, that steak's beautiful." We say it every day, every single day.
That carnivore gratitude, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. It is weird. It's mind blowing for somebody who's never done it. Yep. And you have to get past that first stage. If you guys are starting out carnivore, it's weird in the beginning, really weird. And you're going to have a meat aversion and fat aversion. But soon something clicks in. Mine was when I had a ribeye one day. Everybody talks about ribeye. And then we did carnivore. We were doing it for a while and having diarrhea, all the weird stuff. But then one day we had ribeye. And I felt such a calm. I felt like, wow, this is the balanced way I'm supposed to feel. Something happened that day. And then I'm always seeking that same wow. That was the perfect ratio or whatever it was. It just felt right. And it's been great since. But it's like you said about the ribeye. It's so true. It's perfect.
Right. There's something to what you guys are saying too. I didn't realize it until I did carnivore for a while. I did a video on this a while ago where it's like a switch went off. Something went off where I was no longer eating food for entertainment or enjoyment. Yes. I still enjoy a ribeye, but it's not that addiction that I used to have. And it's like you said, Steph, it's really hard for people to wrap their brain around that when you're on the standard American diet, but it happens and it's incredible. People now too, don't you get sick of steak? And it's 100% honest. Just like you said, Steve, no, I don't. I appreciate it every time. And your body starts talking to you different, where I remember one time where it's almost like my body was screaming like, yes, thank you. You moron. You finally figured it out. Like, just keep doing that. Like, whatever that was. I tell people this too. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm just an individual, but I really feel like I was deficient in cholesterol or eating fatty meat. Once I started eating the fatty meat, because I tried so many diets over the years, and I did a strict ketogenic plant-based diet. Salad for lunch, salad for dinner, no junk, no sugar, none of that. Because people always say that to me on carnivore. You would have done the same thing, Carrie, if you just cut out the sugar. I did that. I still had IBS. I still had depression. I still had all of these issues. Once I got that fatty meat back, and there's a lot of science around this, that cholesterol is so important. We've been eating it since the start of time. It's only been demonized recently, but my testosterone went up. My sleep improved. It felt like my hormones balanced. It felt like my immune system got stronger. You look around in the world right now, it makes sense. Like, meat has been demonized for so long, and you look at fertility rates, for example, rates of depression, anxiety, those are all tied to our hormones and cholesterol and things like that. So we talk about that a little bit in the documentary. We've got some experts and some doctors in there, but I really feel like that's a huge problem. Humanity as a whole is deficient in this thing that we've been eating since this first. Dr. Barry said this, and I stole it from him, and I love it. For as long as we've been drinking water and breathing air, we've been eating meat. It's not some new thing. And when people are like, oh, it causes cancer, oh, it causes this or causes that, oh, really? Then why are these rates just going through the roof right now? It's not like people are eating more meat now. They're eating more of the standard American diet and stuff we've never eaten since the start of time.
Yeah, no, it's a remarkable thing happening right now. I feel like it's like this movie you're making, and more people becoming aware. The Jordan Peterson, his daughter,
Michaela's story is crazy.
Yeah.
But just
if you guys haven't seen that, watch Michaela Peterson on Joe Rogan. Just watch that.
Life-changing, right?
She has a ton of stuff like you.
I got to say one thing real quick. So when I started carnivore, we have the triplets plus one. My oldest daughter is now 19. My oldest daughter has been through so many health issues, kind of like her dad. At 13, she had open heart surgery. Wow. And she survived that. But at 15, she had 2 blood clots that almost killed her. But going back to at 13, when she had her open heart surgery, she went in for this surgery. It was going to be an 8-hour procedure. So her mom and I were sitting down waiting. They give you a little pager. They say it's going to be 8 hours. Well, like an hour and a half into it, the pager goes off. And we're like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And they said, we can't do the surgery. And I'm like, what happened? And my daughter Lily has this skin condition. It's called HS. It looks like acne. It's horribly painful. It was all over her back and it was on her chest. And so they couldn't cut into her chest because they're like, the HS is there. So they're like, you got to go back and you got to cure this. So she went back, and long story short, because I tend to ramble, she went on for 5 years. We took her to all of these different dermatologists, specialists. They gave her creams, injections, shots. The last one said, we can give her this injection, but it's going to shut down her immune system. And she came to us once and she's like, I just want to die. This hurts so bad. None of these doctors are helping. And we're taking her to like the best people we can. Nothing ever worked. Michaela Peterson, you just mentioned. I saw her, and I saw her more after I started doing carnivore. And on day 8 of doing carnivore, I was watching Michaela Peterson, and I'm like, she totally reminds me of my daughter, Lily. And that's one of the reasons I have this seed planted in my head. Like, these stories are so important. Like, Michaela's story is important to my daughter. Your story is important to someone else. And so I told my daughter, I'm like, maybe it's just the food. Like 5 years later of suffering, I'm like, Lily, maybe it's just the food you're eating. Like, it's almost like an allergic reaction. You're eating this food and it's causing it. I'm like, I really think it's the food you're eating. Maybe you should just do this thing with me. She went on and she actually did Lion for 30 days. And by day 8 of her doing Lion, half of her back had cleared up. And by day 30, all of it was gone. All of her age. This was after 5 years of suffering. It made me so mad and so happy, right? I'm so happy for my daughter, and I'm so mad because I'm like, not one of those dermatologists ever mentioned nutrition. No. And I credit Michaela Peterson so much to that. And oh my goodness, that the Peterson family has inspired so much healing. Again, on my comments on YouTube, I always ask people, how'd you find carnivore? So many of them, they saw Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan. And then a lot of them did more research and maybe saw Dr. Barry. But the crazy thing, just real quick, Jordan Peterson. So we're filming all these people for the documentary, all these good doctors. And we were in Austin and we were filming Dr. Baker, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Ovadio was down there. We filmed Bella. We filmed like 14 people down there. I got an email, and the email said, "Hey, I've been watching your YouTube channel for a couple months now. I really enjoy it. I'd love to have you on my podcast." And it was signed Tammy Peterson, Jordan Peterson's wife.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And I had actually, Tammy Peterson has an incredible carnivore story. She doesn't talk about it too much, but she has a podcast, and I had already seen that. So I was kind of a big fan of hers. I went on her podcast, and then I sent her this little teaser trailer we have for the documentary. I'll share it with you guys if you want to share it with your audience. It's a 3-minute little teaser trailer. I'm like, here, this is just if you want to see what we're doing, Tammy, because I'd love to have you in our documentary. She overcame stage 4 terminal cancer. She's in full remission for like 5 years. She's been doing carnivore for years and years. And so I sent her that trailer just expecting her to watch it herself. She agreed to be in the documentary. And then she's like, oh, by the way, Jordan Peterson just tweeted out your teaser trailer to his 6 million followers on Twitter. I'm like, what? Kind of a funny little story too is we didn't even release that to the public. It was more of a trailer we just did internally for this one conference we went to. So we never intended to put it out to the public, but I'm like, Jordan Peterson forced us. Now it's going public. Everyone's seen it, sort of thing. So
that's cool.
That's exciting.
It's so exciting too, because I'm like, Jordan Peterson was a big part. I saw Dante Ferrigno, Dr. Barry, but Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan was a huge one because he said he stopped snoring the first week. And then as a clinical psychiatrist, he said he was off all his antidepressant medications for 1 year. When he said that, I'm like, Jordan Peterson, he's a pretty smart guy, smarter than me. Maybe I should think about this more. And then I saw Dr. Chafee. I'm like, Dr. Chafee has literally performed brain surgery. He's a neurosurgeon. He's been eating this way for 11 years. Pretty smart guy. Maybe I should think about this more. Philip Ovadia, heart surgeon. Pretty smart guy. I'm like, all of these people, Dr. Georgia Ede, Harvard-trained psychiatrist. She eats this way. I'm like, yeah, maybe it's worth a little bit more investigation. So
I think this movie, because you're going to have so many different stories, like somebody has this or that, and then it's going to affect somebody. That's going to be their motivation to possibly try it. Just like you got inspired. This is an important movie, man.
Yeah.
What can it hurt anybody to try 90 days?
Yes. Oh,
it's such a short time. It's not fun, and it feels like you're being restricted in the beginning, but it does change. And then all of a sudden it's easy and it's simple, and you have nothing to clean, and you've got, it just,
the whole lifestyle.
The simplicity of it is so great.
It pains me so bad now. Like, everything's great on carnivore, but to realize that the majority of humanity is never going to feel the way that you and I feel.
No.
Yeah.
They're going to go their whole life. It's almost, I sound like I'm exaggerating, but I really don't think I am. The brain fog that people go through life through. You talk to anyone on a standard American diet right now, they'll say, yeah, I got brain fog. I stutter, I stammer, I can't find my words. But they don't realize the depth of it till they get out of it. Everyone that gets out of it is like, whoa, that was way worse than I realized. It's a mild, it's like you're going to go your whole life in a mild intoxication. Like, you've always got a couple beers in you or something, and you're a little out of it. It's like, what a tragedy. It's such a miracle that any of us are alive. And then to go your whole life never realizing it. It's like you said, Steph, 90 days. It's a little sliver of time if you look at the grand scheme of your life. It's like a blink of an eye in the terms of the grand scheme of your life. If you go your whole life never feeling this way, what a shame.
And the first 2 weeks are really the bad ones. That's it.
Right.
Maybe the first week.
When there's going to be people out there that have such a powerful motivation that that it doesn't seem that hard. Like even the first few weeks.
Your situation, you're desperate.
Yeah, when you're desperate,
Yeah.
Like I would have drank, if somebody said, hey, if you drink this motor oil, all your problems will go away. I would drink the freaking motor oil.
Yeah.
I would
take the pills.
Take
we'll
whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's, if you just have to have a strong enough motivation, and if that's motivated by pain, that's easier to motivate you. But if you're suffering from depression, or you just are, we've been inundated with how we should eat, and we have these preconceived notions of that. And I think that it's, it's an addiction, but it's also so hard to break away from that, because I know that there's people that if they hopefully watch something that motivates them and says, this will help you, and here's proof because I experienced that, just do it. Like I can't believe that if somebody is when you get real desperate, they will do anything. They
Yeah.
will, and it doesn't take 90 days is a good one, but it doesn't take 90 days. If you're really, really deep into that first week, like you're talking about that brain fog, that first week, I would describe it like I didn't know I was underwater. I didn't know that I was, like just underwater, not breathing. And then in that first week, I was like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
We would talk about it because we're doing it at the same time. We'd be like, I don't even know how to describe this, how it feels up in here. It's so good. It's such a weird, I felt smarter. And I wasn't smarter. I wasn't
clarity.
Smarter, but I sure felt smarter. Yeah, just
right.
It's such amazing feeling.
It's like you feel like you're operating at how you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to feel like.
It's like you feel superhuman, but then you realize, no, this is the way everybody's supposed to feel. We're just all working at a deficit up until then. What you just said, it reminds me. So that Dante Ferrigno, he was one of the his video that inspired me. He was doing push-ups and he stood up and he looked at the camera and he said, it's amazing what's happening to my body. Like he was dumbfounded and confused by it. Kind of similar to what you described. I think everyone experiences that. It's like, how do you even describe that to people? This is crazy. And then we realize, that's all how all humans would be if they were just eating the proper way and not kind of poisoning themselves for so long. I wanted to say real quick too, Steve, I love the fact, well, I don't love the fact because it sounds mean saying it that way, but it's kind of cool having a brother that is doing this out of desperation.
Yeah.
Because I feel that it's frustrating for me sometimes. People will be like, how do you stay on this? Or oh, I just got to cheat, or I'm just going to do this, or they get down to their goal weight. And I'm like, I can't even imagine that. There's nothing. This is like my medicine. This is everything. There's no way I want to go back. I was begging God, like anything, give me anything. Now I'm going to go back and eat a Twinkie or something like that. Like, why would I even want to? The other thing with that too is every single person I've talked to that's gone off plan or cheated, I haven't talked to one person yet that has been like, I'm really glad I did that. I really deserve that cheat day. And now I feel better about it. It's every single time it throws you off.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. So how long have you guys been doing this?
A year and 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months now.
July, it would be, a year was July. And so, 4 months.
One of the things I've been learning more about, and this is unexplored territory, but it's really interesting, is what happens to our gut bacteria, gut biome. I don't know if you guys have done anything with this or not, but I interviewed this woman, her name is Malia, and she works for this place. It's called IHF. They specialize in fixing your gut bacteria, gut biome. For some of these people that have really extreme autoimmune disorders, some of these, it could take like 2 years to heal. But they have this crazy track record and a lot of studies. They're putting together studies right now on this. But the thing is, there's a lot of different gut bacteria, gut biome that feed into all of these diseases we get, weakness in our immune system, depression, anxiety. So much of that happens in the gut. I never knew that before. I thought my depression was in the brain, but serotonin's made in the gut, all of that. And they actually have this schedule. And because one of the things I noticed was 3 weeks into carnivore, so many people report this, whoa, something happened. Inflammation went away, or their mood changed, or some switch went off at 3 weeks. And this Malia was telling me there's certain gut bacteria that when you're eating carnivore, it starves it and it dies at 3 weeks. And then there's other gut bacteria that dies at 3 months and 6 months and 1 year. And then 2 years is, so there's these different stages she was telling me about. And a lot of it, I'm like, I thought I knew everything about carnivore, which I don't, but I'm like, I'm in ketosis. I'm not eating junk food. The heart performs much more efficiently, but a lot of the things she was describing about gut bacteria, gut biome, and the healing we do there filled in these puzzle pieces for me. I'm like, oh, a lot of this makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things she said that really polarized people maybe was when you cheat on carnivore. I never cheated for all the reasons I mentioned. I did this for desperation. But the other thought in my head was like, gosh, I don't want to go through this keto flu, this adaptation stage again. It could be a week or two. I don't want to do all of that. But she was saying when you do that, you can refeed this bad gut bacteria and it just flourishes. And she said you could have that for like another 2 years in some cases. So it could be like a much bigger setback than people realize.
I believe it 100%. Like just cheating at all, it just, so like you get to a point, and I think that's when you're saying that the light bulb sort of thing happens is when that gut bacteria does die, the one that loves carbs and feeds on carbs. And in the beginning, all you do is think of all the things you're missing out on, the carbs, you just want sugar, you want carbs, and mainly carbs, not sugar even. You're thinking of berries or anything that's, you just want something, and it's manic cravings. That's what it kind of felt like until those die. And then when they die, you're like, oh, it's easy now. And that's, you gotta get past that point. So if anybody's starting, you have to push past it. Just resist and get past that point, because it's the same thing. If you fall back and cheat later, those things come back. All of a sudden that bacteria can come back, and then you're thinking about carbs again all the time, or peanut butter, or whatever it is. It's hard, but you have to have forgiveness too. If you do mess up, you just get back on there, and it goes away. And once you've done it, it's fine. But it's hard to go back.
I had a setback, and it wasn't because I wanted to do this, but so we go to the doctor, and this is another thing with cholesterol.
Are you a lean mass hyperresponder yet?
I think I might be. I got to dig into it a little bit more.
Okay.
Well, so we go to the doctor, and they're like Steph's cholesterol was
625.
Mine was the highest they had ever seen in that whole office, and then hers was way higher than mine.
625.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we go in there
in 3 months, 3.5 months.
Good high score. Nice.
Yeah. So we get those numbers, and I understand why people are afraid of that, because logically what I did, I dug into a lot of research on cholesterol, and all this research, I knew that there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
But there was a part of me that's like, what if I'm wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like I literally, that crept into me, and I scoured through all kinds of information, trying to prove that it is bad. And when you dig into it really deep, it's not. And I'm just making it real simple right there. But I still had that thing that kind of scared me.
Yeah.
And so I go, okay, I'll try to lower my cholesterol a little. So, and I was doing fantastic. It was like just the greatest I was feeling. And I told the doctor, I know it's high, but I feel so good.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't ever want to hear that.
Right.
And so I say, okay, I'll try to get my cholesterol lowered. Started eating sweet potatoes, and then boom, I felt bad like immediately. And then my uveitis came back.
Yeah.
And it's freaking brutal. When you get it, you have to go through the steroids, which you don't want that, but you have to do it. And it's a long tapering. And it was the worst one I have had too. Wasn't the most painful, but I had never had that long of having stuff floating around where I'm always thinking something's beside me. It lasted for a long time. And so after that, I was done. I even said, if this is going to kill me, then I'm going to die feeling good. I don't want to die, trying to stay on some protocol I'm not taking any drugs, and I don't want to be just trying to survive. I want to feel I was feeling good.
Yeah.
Enjoying my life, and then boom. And so, but after that, it's like no more.
So we went back to strict. Steve went back to lion, and I went back to carnivore, which is mainly lion, but sometimes we'll have some fish, and also coffee.
My point was the fear. Like, I know people are afraid because of that. The cholesterol lie has been it's ingrained in us.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but after we went back, that we felt great again. Just like in the beginning when we went back. I mean, we just added some carbs to try to lower our cholesterol. Sky high. And decided, nope, we're not doing it. We're going back to strict. Went back to strict. Felt amazing again, just like we did right in the beginning of carnivore.
Nice.
It went back. So we didn't even realize that it had fallen away, and we weren't feeling as great. So being strict carnivore it's a different level of great.
But that's how fast that gut thing you were talking about is very fascinating to me, because that's how fast it affected me.
Yeah.
Right.
That quick. It's wild.
Oh, and I have to mention this. At our year carniversary, we tested our cholesterol again, and mine had dropped 301 points on its own.
Wow.
And then we were strict again. So that test where it was 625, nothing changed basically for months, and I mean, a long time. We'd been strict carnivore again, and it went down to 324. So, and I'm fine. I just wanted to be maybe in the 300. 600 was insane.
Right.
But yeah, but 300s, I'm fine with that. I don't care. So it does change. Sometimes you test too soon, you freak out, you know?
Yeah, those tests can be variable depending. You could take like 3 tests in one day, get 3 different readings. It's really awesome. There's a lot of research coming out now about lean mass hyper responders and things like that. We had Dr. Philip Ovadia on, and just talking about cholesterol in general, he really opened my eyes about, so we're so misled and still so programmed so wrong to be fearful of cholesterol. His big thing was it's the quality of the cholesterol that matters, not the quantity. That was one big thing that was kind of eye-opening for me. And I don't know if he gave me this analogy, but maybe just for your people that are watching your channel, he was describing this. I love this description about cholesterol. He says, like firemen. I don't know if you guys have heard this one before, but if you look at, say there were 7,000 fires in the United States last year. If you look at that data in a spreadsheet, every one of those fires had a fireman that went to that fire. So you could infer that the firemen caused the fires. That is the same thing as what we're doing with cholesterol.
Yes.
There's inflammation or fire in your blood vessels. There's inflammation from the sugar and the processed junk and the seed oils that we shouldn't be eating. The cholesterol is going there like the firemen to put out that fire or that inflammation, and we're blaming the cholesterol. Or that's what they used to do. We're not even doing that anymore. I think like even the American Heart Association and everyone they're not even saying that stuff anymore, but it's just ingrained in everyone's brain. Yes. That's a big thing I get over and over again. Whoa, what's your cholesterol? I still get people now. It's kind of like you said, Steve. They'll say, you're a ticking time bomb. I'm like, really? I reversed my congestive heart failure. All of my numbers look great. I said to someone once, I'm like, if you give me a contract right now and it says it's going to take 20 years off my life if I keep eating this way, I'll sign it in a second. Because it's like, just like you said, I'm living my life to the fullest potential right now. I feel absolutely incredible. I don't want to go back to sitting on the couch being depressed and hopeless just so I can say my cholesterol numbers are within range. It's so much of the cholesterol too. It's completely backwards. It's like people with higher cholesterol live longer. What was that? The Framingham study, Dr. Chafee's talked about these. Everything I've been finding on carnivore is like we're living in an inverted reality. People with higher cholesterol live longer, lower cholesterol die sooner. Food pyramid's upside down. Don't eat meat, but you're supposed to eat meat. It's like everything is so backwards.
Here, eat seed oils. Load up on the seed oils. Those will be great for you.
Oh my goodness. This was my big epiphany on carnivore. And this is what I encourage people. When you hear carnivore and you think we're insane for doing carnivore, the only thing we're doing in reality is returning to what is natural for humans. Given the 60,000 products in the grocery store, which are all garbage, given all the options we have right now, eating meat is the cleanest you can eat, especially if you're eating beef. It's a multi-chamber stomach. Even if there's some glyphosate or something on the grass, by the time we eat that meat, there's very little in there. It's the lowest inflammatory food you can eat. It's just, you look at humanity and how sick everyone is. It's direct correlation to us escaping from what's natural, primarily through the foods we're eating, also our other everyday activities. But that's my pitch for carnivore. It's like, we're just returning to what is natural. And when you do that, it's just incredible what will heal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
Exciting. It's exciting right now too, with hopefully what's going to be coming out with, all just the awareness about, the lies and
what they've been doing
the
with
medical
food.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we are not living longer. We're not as healthy as we used to be as a nation. The kids, all that has to do with our food.
Mm-hmm.
And the food that they've manipulated, and they put chemicals in, they use seed oils on everything, and they lie, and they don't even have to tell us everything that's in it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really kills me is there's 10,000 chemicals they're allowed to use that they don't have to tell us.
No. Right. And they can lump things into seasonings and things like that. It's
artificial flavors and
natural flavors. But what are they?
Color, let's eat it.
Right. The thing that really gets me, this documentary, there's so many reasons for doing it, but the thing that really gets me is the children, this next generation, and how we've normalized, like, just get them hooked on sugar. I always tell people this. I'm like, I was so unhealthy. I just told you all the reasons I was unhealthy, right? Pretty unhealthy. I ate bad. I ate processed foods and stuff like that I shouldn't. But this next generation is way worse than I was eating. and we're getting kids hooked on sugar and cereal from a young age, and it's just fine. They'll be fine. They're walking around with their Starbucks and it's just completely full of sugar. I really think it's criminal what's happening to children.
Right.
It's all just greed. It's just greed run amok for money. You get them hooked. It's just like the cigarette industry used to do. You get them addicted from a young age, and it's just worth more and more money to them on the food side and then the pharmaceutical side. History's not going to look back on us kindly. I think it's going to be like, what were we? That's crazy. Like people getting limbs amputated, going blind, and these kids with depression and anxiety and all these issues. It's all just tied to the foods we're eating.
Yeah,
I agree,
man.
I mean, I would not have said that before, but now that I've just experienced and seen what it's done to Steve, I mean, it's mind blowing being from, we've been married 23 years, and the first 20 was dealing with, like, maybe not the first 5. I don't think you had stuff in the beginning, but once it kicked in, he was like just suffering, just watching her husband suffer and him not feeling great and not wanting, he doesn't talk about it, but you can see it. He's a whole new man. It's unbelievable.
It's like a second chance at life, right?
Yeah. And it was so pointless. All of that. None of if say we had eaten this way from children, can you imagine what you could be capable of or what you missed out on because of whatever? It just is such a shame and such a waste. I wish we all knew, or at least tried it and then decided whether it was for us or not. Nobody knows about it.
The children comment you just made really gets me too, because just thinking about those formidable years when the brain's developing, the body's developing, and we're feeding them sugars and seed oils and all this. Just imagine if they were eating properly. I had this Dr. Suresh on my channel the other day, and he said, Kerry, think about this. When you feed a baby vegetables, it spits it out like violently, like it doesn't want vegetables. And he's like, why is that? I'm like, well, instinct, right? And then we were talking, we're like, do babies have any other instincts where they're incorrect? Where they're doing something that's not? He's like, no, all their instincts are correct. It's like we're forced to feed them this broccoli, but then you give them meat or something and they're like devouring it. So he's like, it's bitter.
Baby eat meat.
Yeah.
I know that in carnivore groups, they say they'll give their kids like the bone and they'll be just gnawing on the bone or whatever, but I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody feed maybe baby food with like,
Have you seen them feed a donut?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't they eat a piece of meat?
Yeah.
They're not spitting that out.
Big old birthday cake or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just sad. I like your daughter, her story with her skin.
Yeah.
It's so hard when you're a teenager and stuff to deal with skin issues and all that stuff. And she could have been spared all of that. It's just.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with her too was it wasn't just the skin. After she started healing, we're like, her mood was just drastically, she came in, her face was lit up. We're like, who is this person? It's just like a completely different person. All those hormones and everything balance out. It's just, I'm
looking forward to like menopause now. Like I know from all the things I've been reading how,
Can't wait for that.
Well, I mean, nobody looks forward to it, but when I'm getting there, I'm 48. So it's going to be coming in the next 10 years probably. But I know all the crazy stuff that women go through. And then just the stories I've been reading on Facebook about how easy it was or how whatever. It's just like, I want that kind of menopause. I'm going to have to deal with that. I don't want all this crazy. What if I have normal? What if I'm just ease into it and nothing happens? I'm so excited about just avoiding dementia, not having cancer, even just no diabetes, not having, I'm just excited for my future as a senior, not have all of the, I mean, maybe we'll get stuff, who knows? Because we live in a society where we have microplastics and all kinds of stuff. It's just going to happen. But majority of it's not going to. My body's going to be healthy enough to be able to fight all the other weird stuff because it's not focusing on the sugar and the whatever. I think that's where a lot of it is we can heal from our normal things that we might run into because our bodies aren't overwhelmed with how much bad stuff there is that it's dealing. I don't even know how to say it. You know what I mean?
You recover, like if you have a stressful life and you're eating this diet, you have a stressful job, you do a physical job or whatever, you recover faster.
Yeah.
And the faster you recover, the healthier you're going to be. You get a cold, you'll recover faster.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're not impervious to fatigue and colds and stuff like that, but you're more impervious.
It's true.
And if you do get it, you recover. And we've noticed that on, like, we've done things, physical things, and with like the kids and the grandkids. And there's been times where we thought, like, we took up pickleball with them, and we played, and it was a hot day, and we were running all over the place, and we were like, we're gonna be dead.
We're gonna pay for that
Tomorrow. We're gonna be dead. And we were fine.
Yeah. Weird stuff where we've done extreme things and it's been like, oh, I'm gonna be jacked up
And we
tomorrow.
both feel that way. We're both like, yeah, I feel pretty good.
Yep. I had the same thing. We own our small town movie theater. We touched on that a little earlier. We had to re-roof it. So it was myself and my Amish friend of mine. I was outside. This was right when I started Carnivore, maybe a month or two in. 14 hours, and he made me do all the hard work. Like, I'm carrying bundles of shingles up the ladder over and over again. I was like, I'm going to be dead for 2 weeks after this. I'm going to be so sore. Nothing. It was the next morning. I woke up at like 6. I'm like, let's go finish the roof. There was nothing.
And you were crippled basically before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't even do one of those bundles before. I would have. I was been so fatigued just standing up. Well, one of the things you said, Steph, that I love is this long-term thing, not getting sick in the future. Menopause. The first person I interviewed was Anita from Ketogenic Woman, and she was talking about she went through menopause, and she's like, it was like nothing. All of her peers were having all of these issues and symptoms and everything. She's like, it was nothing.
Wow.
That's what I always encourage people, because so many people, like everyone, I can't think of anyone that's done strict carnivore properly and then they're like, nope, nothing happened for me. They find this incredible healing. But a lot of people will find healing. Maybe they'll lose a bunch of weight if they wanted to lose weight. And then they'll be at this thing where, oh, now I can just go back to moderation, or I'm healed, or sort of thing. But I switched my why, kind of what you said, Steph, to the long term. Cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's. Sure, I could get those things, but I really believe I'm far less likely to get them because my body's not chronically inflamed. The other thing I've learned that just blows my mind, and it should be like front page news or something. A lot of these doctors talk about it, Dr. Chafee in particular. As humans, we should be living to be 120 years old. There's all sorts of science that supports this. Rancher Maggie, I truly believe, and she believes, she told me this when I interviewed her. She's like, I believe I'm going to live to be 120. She said, you can laugh at me if you want, but I really believe that. I believe it too, just witnessing her. But everyone's dying right now. It's going in the wrong direction. It's actually going down for the first time. It's like in the low 70s, people are dying. And they're getting there with all these mobility issues, suffering to 70, and then they die. And they're like, oh, gee, I did it. We should be living to be 100, thriving and not having all of these issues. It's like you don't know what you don't know, so people don't realize it. But that's like the crime of the century, that people think it's a good thing that we're just barely making it to 70. End up in a nursing home or something. It's crazy.
And that, but the end years are suffering. I mean, like miserable for everybody. And I don't know.
You got to do things that give you your best chance at, living healthy and living a long life, whatever that life's going to be. But you got to give yourself the chance, by eating right, exercise, and, keep your brain healthy, which diet has a big impact on that as well. But if you're eating all that crap all the time, you're actually rolling the dice.
Yeah, big time.
Isn't it weird though? Like, we might have somehow been blessed enough or whatever to have discovered perfect healing or whatever, like just the ultimate way. It's just weird. It's weird that
it's so simple. That's why.
That's why it's weird.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, it blows my mind. Last night I interviewed Dave Mack. Dave Mack is a carnivore who he just surpassed 800 carnivore interviews. He's interviewed 800 carnivores.
Wow.
His channel is Zero Carb, at Zero Carb. It's amazing what he's doing. But I started asking him about all these things, and I've watched a bunch of his videos. This is crazy, the healing we're seeing. Like, he has several individuals with MS that actually have medical records, like the scan before, scan after, where the lesions are going down. He has one guy that this sounds crazy. Go watch Dave's channel. I have heard this over and over again as well. This one guy was legally blind. Like, he could see a little bit of light here, and his vision started coming back. For people that are listening, I know that sounds crazy, but so many people lose their vision with type 2 diabetes or other reasons from inflammation. the back of your eye becomes inflamed and your vision starts to go away. The inflammation goes away on carnivore. People are starting to see better. He's
Wow.
interviewed a couple people that have reported that, but some of the healing, it's just, I mean, your cells regenerate, things happen over time. It's amazing the healing that'll happen. And it's so simple. Like you said, what are we doing? It's just like, get the hell out of the way. Like, just let your body do what it's supposed to do and give it the proper fuel and it'll heal. It's crazy what'll heal. It's just nuts. It still blows my mind.
Me too.
Completely.
I love it.
I love it too. We're this for life. I mean, unless something happens, and that whole thing was going to be the whole LMHR thing. It's like, oh shoot, it seemed too good to be true. And now this, but now it's almost like maybe that's how it's supposed to be, you know?
Right.
Who cares? Let's just see what happens. And it seems like cholesterol might be the magic here. We don't know. It's something special with it.
The biobank in the UK tracked, like they have, everybody's in the biobank there. So they have all these people they could track, and they track people, I think it was 60 or 65 and over. And the ones that lived the longest had fewer cancer, fewer dementia, fewer all problems, had high cholesterol.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's all I need. I'm 60. So I'm trying to get as much cholesterol as I can now.
There's so much evidence too for cholesterol helping with your hormones and your nerve endings, the sheath around your nerve endings. That's all from cholesterol. Your brain, everything runs on cholesterol. It's just been unfortunately demonized. It's one of those things, like you said before, though, like 90 days doing carnivore, that's like a sliver of time.
Yeah.
The amount of time that cholesterol has been demonized is a sliver of time in all of humanity. It's like Dr. Barry said, we've been eating meat forever. This is just a recent thing where we've been avoiding it and everyone's getting sicker kind of thing.
That's a good way to put that in the grand scheme of things. It's just a sliver of time.
It is.
Where they lied.
Yeah.
To us.
Yeah, it's so hard because we're myopic as humans. We just look at things like this is the way it's always been. But you look at the world right now, and 7 out of 10 people are overweight. That's not the way it's always been. It seems like that through our own eyes. But when I was younger, there was like 1 or 2 overweight individuals. You know, you'd go to a movie or whatever. Now there's 7 out of 10, and everyone's just like, "Oh, it's just the way it's always been."
What about in school? Grade school?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was running around healthy. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah.
You just didn't see what we're seeing now. It's really sad.
It is.
It happens slowly over our lives, and then we normalize it. I think our brains do that just because we're probably so brain fogged and fatigued that we try to find these routines like, oh, I guess that's okay. I guess it's just fine. That's just the way it's always been. It's kind of crazy.
It's weird. It's such a, I don't know what it's going to take or what's going to happen or when it will happen, but just the whole changing our doctors, just their education on the possibility of this. Like, it's just absolutely, like, even after our cardiologist told us we're going to die. We're not going to find out what the LMHR study is going to conclude with because we're going to die before that. You know, even him, when we went back, did CAC scans, we both had 0. Steve had a CTA scan, 0.
Nice.
That made us feel like, okay, well, at least we don't have a bunch of plaque built up. So we'll just see what happens in a couple years. We'll test again and we'll see. But even him, after seeing how shocking it was with the most cholesterol he's ever seen in anybody, and then it's a couple. There's 2 of us who are healthy our whole lives with cholesterol. Like, everything's been perfect. And then you start this low carb and your cholesterol goes nuts, just for some people. But even after seeing that, he didn't say, oh, there's something to this, you know?
He just put his head down. He sat down, put his head down. He asked me, and I even asked him, I said, I feel fantastic. I feel really, really good. And I listed all the things I do. Like, I freaking work out all the time. I'm listing all these things. And he just sat down. And then he is on, I don't know if it was he's on
cholesterol medication.
He's on cholesterol medication. And then Steph said, you should tell your
you
patient
should get on
about
carnivore
this.
And see if you can get off of those.
Nice.
But
maybe he did. That would be awesome. We haven't gone back, but
that's the sad part, is the medical industry. Like, he doesn't know. Like, people watch, we know more than he does.
Right.
Now, I'm telling you how I feel, dude. You should be saying, okay, if you're feeling really good, why don't we just see where this thing goes or something? They never, ever say, keep doing what you're doing because you feel great.
Yeah.
They never
Drives
think-
me insane. I had
Yeah.
a similar experience. So when I went in for my congestive heart failure, this doctor, he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I went in for my congestive heart failure
The old
at 30.
no, actually, I meant to say when I went in for the test afterwards and it was fine. He's
Yeah.
like, your congestive heart failure is gone. And I'm like, they told me that I would never get better. How did it get better? He didn't have an answer for me. And then I was like, I am no longer on depression medication, anxiety medication. I don't have IBS. I don't have the gout anymore. My gout went away. I had it for 18 months. All this is in my medical record. He just kept going like this. Interesting. Interesting. He didn't care at all. It made me so, on one hand, I'm like, I don't care because I'm a grown man. Like, I'm fine now, but I'm so mad because other people are going to go to him like me. And he's not going to say anything. Here's your statin. Here's your statin. That's all he's going to say.
Yeah.
Nothing
How
about
about this?
nutrition.
Or you could try this. This worked for somebody
this
once.
other patient I
know?
had, this other patient I have, miraculously, I mean, I would hope that if I was a doctor, I would be a really bad doctor. But if I was a doctor and I had a patient and you just experienced that, I would go to other doctors and say, check this out.
Yes.
Look, how do you guys explain this?
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
These doctors too, where do they go to school? 8, 10, 12 years? Some of these guys, I used to put so much faith in doctors. I believe there's a lot of good doctors out there. I'm not saying all of them are bad, but if you dedicated your entire life to healing and the only thing you're doing is doling out temporary band-aids of medication that are just masking the problem, it's like, shame on you. That's just crazy. I recently on my YouTube channel, I did this video a while ago kind of ranting about this, but one of the crazy things that's been happening is a lot of people saw my video. It's well over a year now. And they're like, this inspired me. Like, you were so fired up about all this. You're so mad about it. It inspired me. I did it. And now it's saved my life, or I no longer have depression. I had a woman come on. This was like a month ago. Her name is Renee. She had this advanced autoimmune disorder. She could barely walk. She was using a cane. And she saw one of my videos, and this isn't me patting myself on the back, although it's just so humbling. But she said to me, she's like, Carrie, I owe you my walking. I can walk now. I'm no longer depressed. I'm like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, I don't know what to say to that. That's incredible. But then I got mad because I'm thinking, I'm like, these people, several people have done that now. And I'm like, the only way these individuals could find healing is through some moron YouTube, like homesteading YouTuber. Like, I barely graduated high school. All of the doctors and hospitals and specialists they went to, none of them could help them. And it was just so simple. It's like, it's really eye-opening about how broken our medical system is, that this is the only way people can find healing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody's desperate. That's the weird part about it, is everybody's desperate and they still don't want to try it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You have platforms like
That's
yours,
true.
and you're making this movie, and other people, people with influence are speaking about this. And I think there's a slow shift taking place, and it might be bigger in the coming months. We'll see.
I'm with you. I thank God for the good doctors like Dr. Barry, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Kiltz, those guys. Like us carnivores as individuals, we got to go against the grain and be kind of weird or brave to do carnivore because it kind of goes against everything. And I think about those guys, like, they're risking their career to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have started without Dr. Barry, because I needed that reassurance, because I still had all my trust in the doctor sort of thing. But the positive thing is, I was going to say, is I feel like carnivore is growing because it's underground. Not a lot of people talk about it, but I am talking to so many more people because it works. Do you see anyone doing like Weight Watchers or a vegan diet that are seeing this kind of healing? It's incredible. And then they talk about it, and then other people do it. Like right now, I mentioned my daughter, my whole family is doing it. My one daughter's a little bit more keto, but so other 5 people in my family are doing it. My mom's doing it. My stepdad's doing it. Both my sisters are doing it. It took a while for some of them. Some of it was desperation, a little bit of inspiration, but it's crazy how it's spreading that way. It feels like exponentially it's going to grow pretty quickly that way.
Grassroots.
Did your wife have a lot of stuff that she was dealing with, or was she like in my same situation where she's just supporting you, or seen what it did and be like, I want to do that too? Or
so
like,
she birthed the triplets, and then ever since then, that was 17 years ago, she's had horrible like lymphedema, water retention in her legs. They were giving her water pills. Every time we talk about anything, we talked about menopause before, monthly cycles. She calls it Aunt Flo.
Yeah.
Horrible, horrible, horrible. I'm not even joking. She's talked about this on the channel because she wants to help other people, but she would get her time of the month and it would be 2 or 3 weeks of just migraines, laying in bed, just agonizing, horrible. So she's been carnivore now. She just recently hit 200 days. She was full on vegetarian for like 5 years. She
Wow.
tried carnivore and she didn't ease into it and she failed. And then she went back to keto and now she's been carnivore for 200 days. Thriving. No migraines. All the water retention's gone. Lost a whole bunch of weight. Feeling better. But she's still struggling a little bit. It's not just a walk in the park. It's harder for women than men. There's hormonal reasons, things like that. But she's got a meat aversion. I love steak. She does not like steak still. So she's 200 days in and she's only had steak like twice. She eats a ton of ground beef. She'll eat slow cooked meat, like beef stew meat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Lots of burger patties, lots of eggs, but she's not a big fan of steak. I don't complain though, because it's like a cheap date kind of thing, and it's 200 days in, it's still working for her. Like more steak for me, but yeah, it's just
she doesn't have
incredible.
a histamine issue,
Right?
Because that'd be tough. But that's amazing. It's beef.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's doing it.
That's awesome. So you said you have a greenhouse. Or what are you guys putting in that? Are you growing vegetables?
It is there's a bunch of junk in it right now, goat food and stuff. We built that greenhouse 8 years ago when I was still before carnivore.
Yeah.
And we did a YouTube video on it. We had a garden that we tried year after year and failed over and over at. Probably maybe it was Providence. So now we just got an empty pit out there. Where the thing was. But yeah, we have chickens and goats, so that's been a good blessing on carnivore, getting the farm fresh eggs.
That's really nice.
Don't eat the goats. The goats are just kind of pets, but eggs are good.
I think I'd eat a goat. I've never had it, but I think I'd eat goat.
They've turned into pets for us if it came down to a desperate situation, maybe. But yeah,
you can't have a name. You can't
no, if you've named it, you can't eat it.
We're not good homesteaders. My wife and girls turn all of our animals, including all the chickens, into pets. They're all named. So
of course, yeah, they're
awesome.
amazing creatures.
Yeah,
but
the goats are pretty awesome. They'll actually, you'll go for a walk like through the woods behind me, and they follow you around. They're like they heel like dogs. They're kind of they're entertaining. So they pay for themselves that way, I guess.
Do you guys have goat milk? Do you guys do goat milk?
We're the worst homesteaders in the world. My wife, we came from the city when we moved here. We're like, we're gonna be homesteaders. We're gonna start a YouTube channel doing homesteading. She got 3 boy goats, and boy goats are completely useless. They're nothing. They do nothing. Our farmer neighbor is a 6th generation farmer, and he's like shaking his head, like, what are you doing? There were pets initially. My wife fell in love with them, and they were cute or whatever, little baby boy goats. So. But we have an Airbnb on our homestead. It's like a 2-family. So we rent it out to help support our homestead. And people will come to stay on a homestead. And the goats, it's kind of like a petting zoo, and the guests will take them for walks. So they've earned their keep that way. Otherwise, I don't know if we'd still have them here 8 years later.
That's awesome. Do you have cows too, or no?
I want one so bad. I'm trying. Like my neighbor's a 6th generation farmer. He's like a mile down the road. We get a lot of our beef from him. Grass fed, grass finished.
Nice.
We have the space, but I need more infrastructure, fencing, stuff like that, and knowledge. Like I can barely like manage goats, so I'm worried about taking on a cow. But I might do it with my neighbor. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, but do it with the neighbor, because if they're at your house, they're going to become pets, and you're going to have names for Bessie,
Exactly.
and then you'll never eat it.
Yeah.
Keep them over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Hey, so what's up with the movie theater?
Yeah. So my wife and I and the girls, we took over our small town movie theater a little over 2 years ago. This was just before I was carnivore. And honestly, I think it might have been a decision I made in some brain fog, because I'm so thankful we did in retrospect, but it was, I'm thankful for my wife and girls, because they were basically like running it all. Like this was me before carnivore. I'm gung ho about everything. Like, oh, we got to go cut down firewood. And then I'd start the chainsaw and I'm like, I'm exhausted. I can't do it. I'm done. That was kind of the thing with the movie theater. But yeah, it's a small town single screen movie theater. It was closed down during COVID. when we moved here 9 years ago, I've always loved movies. My wife and I have been together since age 14.
Wow.
We were like exclusive through high school. The first thing we did was go to movies. I've always loved movies. And when we moved here, this little small town of 1,400, one stoplight, there's a little single screen movie theater. We went to it and I'm like, this is going to suck. Like, you can't pick the movie. There's only one movie. It's an old building, but we went in and fell in love with it. Like, they got a really nice sound system and the owner was so cool. The prices were all fair. She only did family friendly movies. And, she always picked really cool movies that I would never have chosen to go to, but I had to go to because they're the only ones. I always liked them. I'm like, that was cool. Like, I kind of was forced to, it's like the special of the day at a restaurant. Like, you don't want to get it, but you get it. It's kind of good. But I became friends with her because we have a little dog kennel we built on our property. It's just a little 4-run. We don't breed dogs. People that go on vacation or stay in our Airbnb, they want someone to watch their dog for the weekend. So my girls will watch the dog. We wanted to advertise that. And the other movie theater, they had it on screen. And so this movie theater I went to, I was like, can we advertise our local business on screen? She said, I have no idea how to do that, but if you guys could figure it out, you can do it. So we did that. We advertised our dog kennel. I became friends with her. I kind of learned how her projector worked. And I told her, I was like, if you ever think of selling this place, I don't know how we could ever afford it, but we'd be interested. And then COVID happened and they shut down, and it was shut down for a couple of years. And then COVID ended and she wanted to open back up. And it was too much. She had done it for 20 years. She had to do all these contracts with the studios, and she messaged us. And long story short, we made it work out.
Nice.
It's crazy. And yeah, we've been doing it for 2 years now. It's amazing. It's so much fun. When we went into it, I looked at all the numbers. I'm like, we're not going to make a penny. We're going to be lucky if we break even. This is like a passion project. It's a single screen movie theater in a small town, but I think it'll be fun. Our girls are getting older now, so it'll be kind of an adventure. We can run it as a family, get some good memories out of it. Yeah. And yeah, it's been incredible. I never thought I would have loved it so much. I look forward to it. We're only open right now in the wintertime, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So by the time Sunday's over, it's like, that was fun. I'm ready to go back to my regular day job. But then by the time Friday rolls around, it's like, yeah, let's go open the movie theater back up again. And made a lot of friends with the locals. And it's just been cool too. Like, we do birthday parties and stuff like that there. But my girls, actually just last night, there was something on Netflix they wanted to watch, the triplets, and they just went over there by themselves, turned the projector on, and they're like, we got the whole movie theater to ourselves kind of thing. Because you can stream anything. It's just fully digital.
Cool.
You can watch YouTube. Yeah. You can watch YouTube, Netflix. You can hook up a PS5 and play video games on the screen, all that stuff.
So you can rent it out for parties and have
the old timey
whatever they want to watch.
That's exactly. And that's one of the things we did. So we do birthday parties, and we also did the on-screen ads. So we're doing these creative ways. Like, without the birthday parties and on-screen ads, it probably would have went like bankrupt. Like, that's kept us going, sort of thing. The community's been awesome too. We announced, like, I think it was about a year ago, we did this initiative where veterans will be free forever. My wife and I, we said, we're going to donate $500 of our own money for the next 100 vets that come in. They'll be free. We announced it to the community. We put a little thing out, and then people started donating. We had a campground donate. They did a meat raffle and they raised $1,200, which just blows my mind. It's been this, I was so nervous doing this because I'm like, we could go bankrupt, like, you're giving this away we don't have any money as it is, but it was like, if you build it, they will come. And people started donating. It's just been this self-fulfilling thing. It's just been paying for itself. So veterans have been coming, like, we were on the news. It was kind of cool. So veterans have been coming from all over the state to come get a free movie. So that's been kind of cool too. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast. And when we finish our documentary, Healing Humanity, it's going to be premiering there. Nice. We had Dr. Kiltz out just a month ago. We did a big meetup at the movie theater, Carnivore meetup. We did inspiring carnivore stories where people got up in front of the audience to share their story. Yeah. I invited Dr. Kiltz. I met him in person in Austin, but I invited him just saying, like, hey, we could put you on the screen. We'll stream you just like we're doing here. We'll do StreamYard. Yeah. We'll stream you on the big screen. He's like, no, I'll come out. I'll fly out. I'm like, what? The carnivore doctors are awesome. So he flew out. He actually flew himself. He's a pilot, which is incredible. He's been carnivore for like 15 years. He's next level. Like, his energy's amazing. But yeah, we did that at the movie theater. It's been a lot of fun. All sorts of different events. But I told Dr. Kiltz, I'm like, when we premiered the movie, he's in the documentary. I'm like, we're going to have it on the marquee, Healing Humanity, starring Dr. Robert Kiltz. I'm like, you got to come back for that. Get your picture taken in front of the marquee.
That's cool.
Man, carnivore has healed you, opened up this whole new world for you. Isn't that amazing? Like,
It's amazing. I
The
can't
weird thing is
even.
it's not for you.
yeah.
It's for
Right.
them. Like people are going to be changed and stuff. And it's so neat to be a part of that somebody, even just one person's life could be changed. And it's such a blessing and such a miracle to have, be a part of something. And it's just you just discovered it, but your story changes people.
And it hasn't been that long. And,
And
you're talking to all these people in such a short time frame. That's pretty amazing, man.
Like your suffering and your story had to be that extreme to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I appreciate the kind words. You just nailed it. That people say that to me too. They're like, "You're so passionate about this. You're so fired up." It's 100% carnivore. Before this, I was depressed on the couch. It's like I was locked in a prison. Like, how can you not be excited and passionate about this? But one person, right, that's desperate, like you were, Steve, or I was. If you can help one person, there's like no bigger calling. I have no addictions on carnivore, but that addiction, it's like if I can inspire one person to do this, it's the best feeling in the world. I'm addicted to that feeling. It's crazy. It's a testament to carnivore though too, because my energy is just tenfold what it was before. So it's I said to my wife before, I'm like, this is crazy. All of this is happening. We're doing this documentary, meeting all of these doctors. I'm like, am I in a mental hospital imagining this right now? Like, oh, I'm just going to eat meat and like all of this is going to happen. It's really kind of crazy when you think about it that way. But I'm very thankful for it, for sure.
So let me ask this. I'm going to ask a couple carnivore questions. What do you miss the most? What would be your one food if you could cheat? What would the one food be one time? If you were gonna do
like
it,
if I was like gonna die tomorrow on death row and I could, that'd probably be the only way I would do it. It would probably be mint chocolate chip ice cream. There's this. We've got Culver's here. I don't know if you guys have Culver's by you.
I know of it.
It's like a burger ice cream place. This was my thing before carnivore. They always put the flavor of the day up. And every time I would drive by, there would be like, if it says this, I got to do it. And it would be like, if there's chocolate in it or Reese's or Butterfinger, that's mine. I got to do it. But it would probably be that. But honestly, when I really think about it right now, if that was sitting in front of me and eat it, I think I would get sick. Like, I think my gut bacteria biome, everything has changed so much. I've heard so many people say that too, that they'll have like a piece of birthday cake or something, and it just tastes like grossly overly sweeter than they remembered because their taste buds changed and things like that. So I would probably get sick. But if I had one day left to live, it would probably be like a Butterfinger Blizzard or ice cream or something like that.
One day left to live.
What's funny is, I mean, this is kind of weird, but we always would talk about, okay, what's your favorite food, or what, if you were going to die, what would your last meal be or whatever. And ours both was always Outback steak. We'll have steak. I want a steak. And so it's funny that we're eating every meal.
I know that's back before carnivore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and people like,
so this is an easy diet for us, to be honest.
Yeah. When people say, how can you, I don't know how you can do that. I'm like, eating steak is like the greatest thing in the world. I remember when I was young, my parents, that'd be a big treat. Like, oh, anniversary once a year, we're going to go get a steak dinner. I'm like, I'm eating steak and beef all the time now. How can you complain about that?
My husband, my best friend and her husband both started the same time we did, but they've both fallen off. But anyway, he said, I just can't believe that I can eat every day, just wiping grease off my chin and I'm losing weight. They did it for weight loss. And it's true. It's true. It's so weird. You get butter and beef and grease and eating fat bites and stuff. It's just shocking. That's the healing way. It's really weird. Yeah, I feel fortunate. Like I'd rather have it be this that we're eating every day than like salad,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The whole salad thing drives me nuts, how salad and plants are put on such a high pedestal right now. Yeah. I tell people, I'm like, you don't even like salad. Like, be honest. You like the croutons, the cheese, the dress. If you like salad, go buy a head of romaine lettuce and get your 14 calories and eat it. When I interviewed Dr. Barry, he gave me the best one. He's like, salad. He's like, that's just basically crunchy water with glyphosate all over it. Enjoy.
That's
good
true.
way to put it.
I do love salad though. We love everything.
Dressing.
I don't though. I never ate dressing.
Oh. I've never been a huge salad eater.
Oh, well, I always did. But what would yours be? I know you actually probably would just have chuck steak for your last meal. Even at the stage, you still would.
If I killed if I killed one of their goats and they put me in prison, I would say, I think I should be able to eat the goat if I'm gonna die for this.
Right.
No, I don't have any. I mean, if you would have asked me that before carnivore, I would probably have something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I don't have that anymore.
He doesn't even have it. Isn't that weird? Like, that's something you guys can look forward to too, if anybody's thinking about it. You get to a stage where you just don't even care. It's so weird.
Yes.
It's so weird. It's liberating though, right? Like,
yes. It's just freeing.
So freeing. But honestly, if I had one day, honestly, prior to this, it would have been the ice cream I mentioned. It was a steak I had in Chicago on day like 100 of carnivore. It was cooked at I like cooking my own steak because sounds like I got a big ego, but I've cooked it so much I think I could just do it better. But I went to this one steak restaurant and they were able to get such a good sear on it. It was a big ribeye and it just had this crust on it. That would be it. Like my mouth's watering thinking about that one right now. It was like the perfect ribeye, perfectly cooked. Right.
Did you have steak for breakfast already today?
I haven't eaten yet today. Yeah, I usually skip breakfast. I'm actually going to my dad's house and there's this really nice meat market by his house. I'm trying to encourage him. Out of everyone in my family that's done it, he's the only one I'm eating more meat, but he's relenting and he's the one that needs it the most. But I'm going to stop at the meat market and my girls are coming with. They're going to help like rake his leaves or something. So I'm going to cook. They're going to rake leaves. I'm going to eat a ribeye today. I've got a craving for a big ribeye.
Oh, good.
But nice. People always say that on my channel because I'll do YouTube videos showing it. I'm normally showing the fun stuff. That's cooking a ribeye. I don't eat a ribeye every single day. Mostly what I eat is ground beef. And
in what form? What do you do with your ground beef?
It took me a long time. It was later in my carnivore journey. A lot of times I'll just eat ground beef. I'll just crisp it up on a cast iron skillet. And then I'll add a little bit of cold butter at the end. And I use the Malden salt. It sounds so boring. And I didn't like that beginning, but later in my carnivore journey, I just love it. Like the certain type of ground beef I get to, it's grass-fed, grass-finished. It has just the right amount of fat in it. That's what I eat a lot of, that and burger patties. But I would say on carnivore, probably when I was doing Not Lion, I would eat ground beef and eggs almost every single day, normally around lunchtime, like at noon or something. And then I would eat another meal like around 3 or 4, or maybe later, but steak or beef or something, but mostly a lot of ground beef and eggs for me.
Okay. And then what about, you said bacon? You do have bacon sometimes too, right? Did you ever lose your taste for pork? Like we lost ours in the beginning. We didn't want any pork at all, or chicken.
The only pork that I have ever done, maybe with the exception, maybe I had a pork chop once, but 600 days on carnivore, it's only been bacon. And I don't think there's anything wrong with bacon. Let me just make that clear. But I tend to have a problem with bacon in that I just don't stop eating it. Like an insane amount of it. Like I'll cook up a whole big thing of bacon and I'll be like, girls, you want some bacon? And I'll just eat the whole thing myself. And then later more stuff.
Delicious.
Yeah, I would end up eating too much of it, but I never lost the taste for it. Like I said, I'll go on and off and 90 days, no bacon. And then the girls will cook some, we'll have some more. I tend to go on it and then I tend to overdo it, like have too much kind of thing. But
so you're eating mainly the grass fed. So you're not worried about omegas. Like you feel like you're getting enough omegas. You feel like everything on your blood work and everything seems normal. Like
I've done my blood work 2 or 3 times now, and all of my blood work came back perfectly normal. The crazy thing for me was the only thing that I was off on my blood work was it said my sodium was low. Which blew my mind. People that watch my YouTube channel were cracking up because I put tons of salt on, like a crazy amount. Long story short, what I realized was I was drinking way too much water. I've always been that way. I've always drank too much water. I was diluting the sodium I was getting by just drinking way too much water. So I've since cut back on the water to what a normal human should consume. And my numbers they're all like perfect. It's kind of crazy for the first time in my life.
And so you're not doing any electrolytes. So you guys aren't drinking reverse osmosis where you've depleted your, what kind of water?
We're very blessed here. Our water is incredible. We're kind of out in the country and we have a really deep well. I had my water tested when we first moved here. My brother-in-law used to come over with like empty pitchers to fill up with our water because he's like, your water here is like tastes so good. So we got really good water. I did electrolytes in the beginning, and my girls every now and then they'll do one, like if they're gonna work out or something. I'm not adverse to it. I always just said like, if I ever feel off at all, I feel like I can hear my body so much better on carnivore. I'll take some electrolytes. I might have done that the first couple months, but yeah, for the last like 300 days, I don't think I've had any electrolytes.
You definitely need them in the beginning because you have the diarrhea and the weird
Yep.
digestive
The
stuff.
first
So you
2
need
weeks,
more.
I always tell people do that for sure. I think that really helped. My one daughter, Emma, she went full vegan carnivore, which just blows my mind. I didn't force her or anything. It was her idea. She saw she saw my progress, my other her other sister, my other daughter's progress. She didn't have any keto flu at all, and
Wow.
but she did it really well. And she was eating fatty meat like right away, a lot of water, but she got a lot of electrolytes those first 2 weeks too. I thought
Wow.
for sure
Pretty
she'd
good.
have issues just going from full on vegan to
Yeah, that's a
carnivore.
dramatic change.
I'm thinking maybe it's because she was younger, more resilient or something.
Yeah. You just recover from everything. No problem when you're a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, your body's changing.
She
every second.
surprised me the most. So she was full on like vegan. We did a video. Her sisters filmed her. The first thing she ate was an egg, and tear came down. She's like, "This is
Aw.
so good." Like her body was just screaming. She was going to bed at like 5:30, just fatigued, acne, hormonal issues, and her body was just starved for cholesterol, fatty meat. She just went full head first into it. It's awesome. Like I couldn't even believe like a weekend she's eating just big chunks of fat and these fatty ribeyes and stuff. She's the strictest carnivore of all of them. She's full blown.
That is another
for
thing
her.
too for anybody that's new. Your body changes and your taste buds change where like I would have never eaten the fat on meat, not just because everybody said not to eat it. It grossed me out. And meat on the bone, never would I eat that. I didn't like ribs. And now it's like something changes and it's I crave meat. My favorite thing is meat on a bone. Yeah, I crave fat. I love the skin. Like if I have to have chicken or something like that, my favorite part's the skin. You know, it's just weird what happens, but you listen to your body and suddenly it will change. And if you hate beef or whatever, probably will love it and it'll be your favorite thing pretty soon.
Yeah.
You're in tune with your body.
Yeah.
It
You can't
shouts
help
at
it.
you.
Yeah. You just start thinking about it. It's weird. What about organs for you guys? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it's for some people it takes a while for them to love it, but for almost everyone I talk to, it happens. My sister was really adverse to fatty meat. She wouldn't eat ribeye. She was eating just like chicken and lean meat. She called me up one day. She's like, "It happened." I thought she was telling me she quit. I was like, "What happened?" She's like, "I love ribeyes now. I got something went off in my brain where I'm just craving that fat now." It's
Yeah,
crazy.
you have the perfectly cooked one, and something's like, "Wow, I want that." Yeah,
it happened.
It happened. I love beef. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, on the organs, when I first started, I was more worried about it, and I've never eaten organs my whole life. We got some ground beef that had like liver mixed into it, and that was really good. I was just kind of expensive, so I kind of stopped doing it out of a convenience thing. I got the liver pills. I was taking those, I think only the first month, and then I stopped. I haven't had any organ meats since then. I'm not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know.
No, that's what I was curious about is that you've been a couple years now. So are you lacking in anything or is everything being fine with just beef? Because I still don't know. I make him eat salmon and stuff or sardines or whatever. Well, I know you want a steak, but do a side of a salmon just to get some more omegas or we're trying to eat only, pasture eggs or grass fed now that we found at Costco's got it. At the business center, you can get a box of grass-fed chuck. And that's while we're eating now. Yeah. Nice. So we're getting more omegas, but I was worried about that. And we were supplementing a little bit, but I don't know. I still don't know where we stand because our blood work seems fine. So
yeah, that's where I'm at too. I'm like, I don't know. I've heard other people like Dr. Chafee's advocated for, sure, get some organ meats, but it should be proportional to what you'd get if you killed a big animal. So you'd get this much meat, you get a little bit of organ meat, so maybe a little bit. I just interviewed Professor Bart Kay. That guy knows his stuff. And he was like, you don't need it. There's everyone that's talking like if you have it, fine, but you should be just fine without it.
Well, when you go to your meat market today, get some heart.
Okay.
Heart, because we've done the liver, it's disgusting. We've done kidney now. We just got kidney. We tried it the other, but heart is actually really good. And just do it as a side. Do your steak and then have a little side of just a little cut it up in chunks and cook it however you would. But try the heart.
I'm gonna do that.
whether you want to or not.
Yeah, try it
Right.
today.
No, I want to try it too. Plus, my daughter Emma's coming with, and she's been doing her own little like TikTok, YouTube videos on stuff,
Yeah.
and that would be I'm gonna eat heart today. That'd be a perfect video too.
Yes.
But I've heard there's like really good benefits to it too. That one lady I mentioned, Malia, that was talking about the gut biome bacteria.
Mhm.
She eats heart and was advocating for it. It's weird. It's like everyone's different, so who knows? I had Dr. Lisa Wiedemann on my channel the other day, and she's been carnivore for 15 years.
Wow.
She does no organs. I thought
Okay.
that was crazy. So she's fine with it. So it's a tough one, but I definitely think it's really good. Yeah.
But you taste it and it's something like, man, I can't get that out of my mind. Maybe there's something in it you needed.
Right. Or maybe it'll take me up another percent or another level or something that I'm not realizing. I think
Can't
it's
hurt to take it once, have it once a week or something, a little side of it.
My whole thing with all of this is like, what would humans have done naturally? And naturally, I would have caught a big animal out in the woods and I would have eaten all of it and not wasted any of it. So that's kind of what my rule of thumb going back to is.
That's true.
I think it's more so just been out of convenience or laziness that I haven't done more organ meat. If my mom would have fed me liver growing up, I probably would have done it. I have a liver in the thing. I'm like, I don't know how to cook this. I'm going to mess it up. All right, let's just go eat some eggs and bacon. And
well, here's what you can do with the liver. This is what I do. Just because I was supplementing with liver pills, but I know that when they're cooked and dehydrated, like you lose the vitamin C or something in there. I don't remember what it is. You don't have as much, but if you eat it raw, that's the best way to do it. And it's gross. But what I read about this in the Facebook groups, you just chop it up into little pill size and then you freeze them and then you put them in a container and then you just grab a little handful of them and wash them down like a pill, just drink them real quick.
Nice.
And that's what I'm doing. That's how I get my liver.
That is cool. That's like a carnivore power tip right there.
Definitely.
I'm going to try that too.
Yeah. So get that liver out, thaw it.
Have you guys, speaking of power tips, have you guys done any like bone broth?
Oh yeah. I make bone broth all the time. He won't drink it really, but
I even like the organ, like she puts stuff in front of me. As long as I have the steak, I'll eat the stuff she also wants me to eat. And then
just because I want to make sure everything's okay.
And I appreciate it, but I don't have I do feel like my body, like when I did eat the kidneys though, like she put these kidneys.
I just got those the first time. They're in the fridge still. We've had them twice.
The first bite, I was like, that's kind of off-putting. And I was eating my steak and I said, I'll try another bite. And by the time I was done with my meal, I was like, I could totally eat this. It wasn't like great, but I was like, it gives a little flavor to my steak. So I don't have a problem with that.
And you like heart now.
I do like the heart is really good.
Yeah.
But if I don't like it, I don't need to eat it. Well, that's how I'm lucky. I
choke it down. I do put Paleo Valley makes a bone broth collagen powder.
Okay.
And we ate that on AIP a lot. Like Steve wanted more protein. So he was using it as a protein and it's clean and they use grass fed and everything. So I do put it in his coffee. He drinks coffee now. He stopped it when we started, but he brought it back in and tried it and he seemed fine. So he has coffee, but he only has 1 cup a day, but I do put it in your coffee sometimes because you won't drink bone broth. So
nice.
I don't know what it does, but he does get that. He doesn't even know it's in there.
No, there's times where I said, did you put something in my coffee?
No, usually on the days that he's like, ooh, this is even better. This is a really good one. It's because I didn't put anything in it.
Oh, that's why. Because I know there's times where I'm like, why does it taste good? So the good one doesn't have
If I make it stronger without it, you seem to like that the best.
Either way, I'm fine.
You're getting healthier and you don't even know it.
You don't even know why. But I just want to make sure you're getting enough collagen. But I know we eat all the gristle and all the stuff, so we're fine. So
nice. Yeah, for people just starting out, you guys are probably just fine. The bone broth, that was another sort of power tip I heard from Malia, especially with repairing your gut bacteria, gut biome. There's some studies or some science around stews and meat and softer textured meat helping with your gut bacteria, gut biome. The woman Mimi we filmed for a documentary that has Parkinson's, she does bone broth every single week and like religiously, and she's like a next level. I'm like, whatever you're doing, I want to do more of that. So I'm trying to adopt a little bit more of the bone broth stuff.
Are you drinking bone broth often, or how are you doing it now? What are you doing?
I haven't, except for last week was the first time I'm like, I'm going to get back into this. I was just talking to my daughter and my wife. I'm like, let's do this once a week. So I made some like a week ago.
Okay. I have a tip.
Yeah, please.
Okay. The bone broth. Are you doing it in a pressure cooker?
So I did it in a slow cooker, but I have a pressure cooker. I do have a pressure cooker. And I think next time I would do the pressure cooker because it took forever.
Yeah, I do the pressure cooker. The key is you roast your bones first.
Okay.
Roast them to where it gets more flavor, gets more meaty flavor out, and make sure you have meaty bones in there too. Like anything that we eat that's on the bone goes in the Ziploc bag in the freezer, and it's got our germs on it or whatever, but it's getting cooked. And then I just make a big batch of bone broth, but I also always add in marrow bones. Maybe like I go to the Asian market and I'll find weird stuff like pig's feet or duck's feet or chicken feet, not duck.
Nice.
Just weird cuts of meat that look like it has a big weird bone. I don't even know what that is. And I'll just get that. Or if it's on clearance, I'll just get some weird stuff. And I throw a couple of those in there, but I always roast them first. And then, in the same pot, our pressure cooker will make, it's a air fryer and a pressure cooker. So, but anyway, so in the same pot, I'll add the water, and I do put a little bit of apple cider vinegar to draw out some of the marrow. And then salt, and that's it. And then I cook it. But the thing is, afterwards, you pick out all the big bones, and I'll use those again sometimes if they're big, because they'll have another round of it in there. But all the little bones get thrown in the trash. But I pick off all the meat and all the weird gristle and all the weird stuff. And then I put it in the blender with some of the broth and all the stuff that's soft in there. It blends up and it makes it a really cloudy, hearty. And then I dump it back in the bone broth. It makes it a really hearty soup. Like, it's delicious. Even if there's even leftover meat in the fridge or something like that, that somebody was too full, didn't finish it, I throw that in there, and it just makes such a delicious bone broth.
Wow.
And it's heartier. So it makes great soup or whatever.
That was great too.
Yeah, it's really good. I love it. And so even if I need a snack, I'll just have, and I freeze it. So I freeze it into cubes. I take silicone cupcake mold, pour them in there, and then I freeze them. So I can just pop cubes of them and eat them, because I can't eat a whole batch by myself in a week or whatever long. So I always have it in the freezer, just tons of bone broth.
That is awesome.
So there's your tips.
That is a great tip. Like, that is so good for you with the collagen and the fat, and it's like.
And I figure the most variety, if I can get weird stuff and throw it in there, at least I'm getting different nutrients from different animals, you know, like whatever it would be, or a different part of an animal that I don't normally eat, because we only eat chuck steak. That's pretty much it. We love it. So I just figured if there's some little chicken bone or something weird in there, there's stuff in there that's good for us and all the meat. So might as well. I don't mind if they mix.
That's awesome. I'm going to do that for sure. The only other weird thing that we do regularly, it's not even really weird, but we do, like from Costco or wherever, you can get beef stew chunks. They're just chunks of meat.
Yeah.
We'll do that in the every Monday. We do this every single Monday. We put that in the slow cooker at night, a stick of butter and some salt, and that's it. It sounds, it's so stupid. So when we had Easter, I brought this with to Easter, and my dad, who's not carnivore, he's like, nobody's going to eat that. You got to have the onions and the spices and all that. And it was the hit. It was like, no joke, 4 or 5 people are like, I need that recipe. And I was laughing, and I'm like, it's literally just meat and water. And a little bit
How long do you cook it?
Sometimes I'll go longer, but normally I cook it overnight, like 10 hours or so.
Okay.
Just on low, super low. You wake up in the morning and the whole house smells like that meat. And if the trick, I don't know if it's a trick or not, but I'll put the meat in, and I don't cover it all the way with water. I just put a little bit of water in it. The top of the meat gets like almost like a little crust over it. And then add a butter in at the end. It is fantastic. It's like, my daughters love that. So we do that every single week. It's just kind of a simple one. And then you get the broth or the liquid that's left over, which is fantastic. So you get like a little bit of a soup with it, kind of thing.
That's what I was going to say, is use some of your bone broth instead of the water next time.
That would be a game changer.
Oh, good. It'll be
Speaking of the bone broth, here's a question. Someone was talking to me about bone broth yesterday. Do you guys drink like Topo Chico or the?
No.
I never liked this type of water, and when we were in Austin, someone got me hooked on it. It's just mineral water. There's nothing in it. But someone was telling me yesterday that when they do their bone broth, they use mineral water, Topo Chico, carbonated water. And they said that's like and they put it in their pressure cooker, which in my head, I'm like, is it going to like blow it up or something? That sounds dangerous. I don't even.
I think it would do well. It would definitely break everything down. I'm doing it. We have a soda stream, and I do use that sometimes. Not with it's just plain. Yeah, but use carbonated water. I'm doing that next bone broth. I'll do a video on it.
They were raving about it, and I was like, that sounds like a really cool idea. Plus, I just love carbonated water by itself, so it's gotta make
that pressure cooker do the test. Let's see what it can handle.
Right? Yeah. Just be careful. When they said that, I'm like, is that dangerous or something? I don't know. Carbonated water, right?
I don't want to clean it, so maybe I'll set it outside in case it explodes. But it would be. I think it would just break it down really well, and it would be so delicious.
Yeah, there's like some acidity or something to that water too, with the minerals in it. I don't know. It'd probably be good.
Topo Chico in there. Our water's just plain. So,
yeah.
But yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. You need like a gallon of it though.
Right. Yeah. It'd be a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to do it though. Doing it. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you don't blow up your pressure cooker, it'll be delicious.
I've made so many batches of bone broth now because we did AIP for 2 years before this, and you made it all the time on that because it was all about healing your gut and stuff. And it's the same thing. It's very good for you. But I'll definitely know if it's different, if anything is different about it in the batch. So
right.
I'll let you guys know.
If you see a big fireball in the sky,
if we're dead,
California,
you guys you're carnivore. You can't die. You can't get blown up. None of that.
That's true.
You'll just walk out. You'll dust off like I'm carnivore.
We got to get a new home.
Yep. Cool. Well,
that was great, man.
It was.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was so much fun talking to you guys. Seriously, open invite. I'm gonna send you a little link. No pressure, but if you ever want to come on my channel,
we would love to.
We'll do it.
I think it'll inspire a lot of people. There's so many people with autoimmune disorders. There's so many people like it's just like the more stories we get out there, the more people we can inspire. Plus, it's so much fun talking to other carnivores. So
yeah, I'm just really glad to talk to somebody who's had gout because that's a big one in those Facebook groups where people they just don't believe it, so they don't want to try it. So it's neat to hear your story and that went that quickly, reversed gout because
so quickly
what they're afraid of.
Yep. I always tell if you come across it too, just encourage them. Google Dr. Barry gout. The video he did on it is really, really good. He gets into the science of it. It's one of those like Dr. Barry's so good at that. You're like, gout and meat? This is impossible. And then you watch a 10-minute video and you're like, common sense. Like, why did I think about it that way? Kind of thing.
That's
amazing. Awesome. He's awesome. He definitely helped us because when you first start, you're so desperate to find out information, and he just puts it out there for free for us, and it's amazing.
Am I gonna die?
Yeah,
right.
Doesn't look like you're gonna die.
What about iodine? Are you doing any iodine?
No, I haven't. Although I saw some Dr. Barry stuff on that, and now I'm thinking maybe I should. I had someone in the comments that people were saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it," and then someone's like, "Yeah, but you should really test first before you do anything." And then I'm like, I feel good. This is always a weird thing with me. I'm like, I'm going to just keep doing what I do until I don't feel good. But it sounds like the science and evidence behind it supports I probably need some. Yeah.
If you watch a couple, Dr. Barry's got several videos on it, but it can't hurt anything to just have a couple drops. You get the Lugol's iodine, 2%. That's what I do. And I just put a couple drops in there in water. I do put it in your coffee.
You got everything in your coffee, Stevie.
I don't even know what's going on.
Heart, liver.
I know. I'm the reason you're here, honey.
I know.
I got to keep you around.
100%. If I didn't have Steph in my life,
am I doing that?
Right.
You do. I give it to you. And I also, so anyway, it's also in like the keto chow. Dr. Barry worked with keto chow or whatever to make this formula of daily vitamins or whatever, or daily minerals, because he's got reverse osmosis water too, like we do. And so it depletes all of our minerals out. So I do a squirt of that in our water or whatever every once in a while, but I don't really know. I just want to make sure we're getting everything, but there's something special with the iodine, and we definitely are depleted, and it's healing a lot of people, especially women with a lot of things. So at least look into it and consider putting just 2 drops in water a day and having a drink, Yeah,
100%. Yeah. For my wife too. Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we got to hook up again. This was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a lot.
I'm just so excited to talk to another carnivore.
It never gets old. You guys got to get to some carnivore meetups too. That's really addictive. Get in a whole room of carnivores.
We're antisocial YouTubers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate it. And I'll shoot you an email with an invite, have you over on my channel. Thank you so much.
Watching in the links, we'll put any links to anything that you want to
Healing Humanity.
Yep.
We'll put a link for Healing Humanity. Homestead How, which is more of a homestead carnivore guy and family.
If you want to give us your daughter's Instagram or whatever, and you want people to check her out or whatever things you might want to do. If you guys want to join some stuff, you liked what you saw, Kerry and his wife, Jen, seem awesome. So support them. Check them out. The other carnivores, you learn some stuff, at least just to see a miracle. I mean, you're a miracle, Kerry, what's happened to you in your life.
Plus he's interviewed other miracles and he's got it on his video.
Yeah. I
And
can't
you
wait
get-
to see your movie.
You could find somebody that he's talked to that you'll have some connection with, and that might be what inspires you to try this. So we urge you to go to his channel and then watch those videos.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's Homestead How is mostly carnivore stuff now, so all of that's there. So
for your movie, how long do you think it'll be before it comes out?
Yeah, we're aiming for summer of next year.
Okay.
It's taking a little bit longer. We filmed 34 people just because of that 1 year requirement. We're still waiting for Mimi to hit 1 year, so we can't film her. But yeah, early next year, we're aiming for to finish it up. And the last thing I'll say real quick, we're doing the documentary. We're also doing a series called Healing Humanity, where we're going to have an episode for each health issue, one for type 2 diabetes, one for autoimmune disorders, one for depression. We have so many stories. So people that are watching, if you're like, I'm just starting this, I got a great story. If you're documenting it, you want to share it, you can go to healinghumanity.movie and register, and maybe your story could end up in our documentary. The series we're doing, I think will go on forever. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. There's so many of these stories coming out now. So yeah, if anyone wants to participate, you can do that too at healinghumanity.movie.
Nice. You'll be the library people will go to. You're going to just keep doing this. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Have a good day. Bye.
You too, man.